Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video because it is going to be update number 9 in my Pan Those Eyeshadows series. This series was started by Lexi here on YouTube a couple of years ago, and this series in general has really just taken off this year. Everyone's kind of putting their own twist on it, and as of last update I kind of revamped the way that I'm doing mine to kind of mirror what others are doing. The way that I was doing it before was just too much. So I do have my 10th update for you guys today. I will have Lexi's channel linked down below, as well as a bunch of other ladies that I know that are currently doing this project. This is one of my favorite projects that I have been a part of this year. I've had so much fun watching everyone else's videos, everyone else's updates. It's just been a really fun project. So thank you, Lexi, for starting this. And like I said, I'm just so happy that so many people are doing this one this year, because it has been just a blast. That being said, if you guys are interested in my update, then stay tuned. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider doing so before you go. I post videos every single Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So without further ado, let's get into this update. So I'm still in my pajama tank. It's very early in the morning, and fingers crossed I get this video filmed before my toddler wakes up. It's still pretty dark outside. So sorry that I couldn't be bothered to put on real people clothes. Anyway, so I have my 5 eyeshadows swatched right here. This is the palette that we were working with from last month. If you guys are new to this series, essentially I randomly selected 5 different eyeshadows to work on until I hit pan on them, and it is a rolling style project. So as soon as I hit pan, I will just roll in a new eyeshadow. My goal is to hit pan on at least 19 eyeshadows this year, and I should have counted before I filmed this video. I think I'm up to like 12 or 13. I had hit like 8 or 9 within this project, and then a couple other scattered shadows here and there. I'm also super excited because even though last month I randomly selected and had my eyeshadows inventoried, I've actually gone through each eyeshadow palette and inventoried the name of each shadow. So it should be easier for me this month to figure out which shadow from which palette I'm working on. This probably is making sense. This probably isn't making sense. I always don't make sense, but this was the palette that we were working with from last month. I think Tosh from Too Much Tosh calls it her quintet. So this was the quintet that I was working on last month. Kind of a boring one, if you ask me. And I have hit pan on one eyeshadow, and I'm going to roll one of the other shadows out because I'm going to be decluttering one palette. I just don't like the palette. We'll get into that. So up first, we're going to talk about the one eyeshadow that I was able to hit pan on, and it is from my Tarte In Bloom palette. You guys know, if you watch my channel at all, this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. So now I currently have 4 pans in this eyeshadow palette. This is the shadow that I was working on right here. It was in the shade Smarty Pants, and we have pan. I have pan on all 3 of these shades and really big dips in this shade and this shade. So I will feel so accomplished when I have hit pan on half of the palette. I also have really good dips going on a couple of these shimmer shades, but that's beside the point. I was able to hit pan on Smarty Pants, which is this shade right here. I just used it as a transition shade. I actually used it as a transition shade today as well, just to further my pan. And this is just a really easy palette for me to reach for on days that I'm going to work and want just a really easy neutral look. I even would use this shadow as just a one eyeshadow look when I was really rushing to get out the door. So really excited to have hit pan on yet another shade in my Tarte In Bloom palette. The palette that I'm going to be decluttering is this one from Morphe. This is the Artistry palette, the 35V. So this is what this palette looks like, and to be honest with you guys, I just don't like palettes that are huge like this, and I'm not a huge fan of the Morphe eyeshadow formula. I would rather spend more money for even less shadows but better quality. So the shadow that I was working on in this palette was this one right here, this darker berry colored shade, and you'll see from the swatch that it is, first of all, swatch is a lot lighter. It just wasn't a good quality shade. I used it 2 times and I was just you know what, I've been considering decluttering this palette for a while. I'll give it to my daughter to play with, so fingers crossed she won't ruin any of the makeup that I like anymore. And I'm just gonna get rid of this and roll in another shade because I don't want to waste my time using products that I don't at least like. I get I'm not gonna love every product, but if I really am not enjoying something, then I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter it. I can pass this along, and like I said, my daughter can play with this. So then the 3 other shadows that I was working on and will continue to roll and work on in the next month are, first of all, from the Milani Bold Obsessions palette. I have this shade right here, which I believe, I never know which way. Okay, so opposite of the black, which is this. Okay, this shade right here, which is the shade Bear in Mind, which is really more of like a satin shade. It's swatched right here, so I couldn't use it as an all over lid setting shade like I had originally thought I might be able to, because it does have a little bit of a glisten to it. So I used this maybe 3 or 4 times, but after that I was really just focused on my Tarte one, and I kind of forgot to reach for this. So I'm hoping that I can get some more use out of this shade this month, and hopefully roll this one out during the next update. Then from the ColourPop Perception palette, I was working on this shade right here, which is in the shade Culture. Here it is swatched on my hand. It's just like a very warm toned transition shade, and to be honest with you, I think I only used this shade 2 times. Again, I was really focused on my Tarte In Bloom just because it's such an easy one shadow wear to work palette shade, whatever, that I was really just focused on this. But I do really like the Perception palette, and in fact the other day I wore Spill the Tea with the Tarte In Bloom shade, and I really forgot how much I love the shimmers in this palette. This palette is really a standout palette. ColourPop always continues to blow me away with their shadow formula. This is no exception, so I'm going to focus on this one a little bit more the next month. We'll see if this one could be one that I'm working on for a few more months before I hit pan. And then the 5th and final shade I was working on was one from the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette, and it is the shade Laurel right here. And I hope you'll be able to tell from the pictures of like the beginning of the month versus now, I was able to get quite a bit of use out of this palette in general. I've really been loving this palette lately. So here is Laurel swatched. As you can tell, it's just this beautiful, beautiful shimmer shade. It is like Natasha Denona Shadows. It is a softer shadow, so I don't think I'll have a problem hitting pan on this next month. I was a little bit hesitant to reach into this shade a little more often just because this is a newer palette to my collection and Natasha Denona is so expensive. I was a little bit hesitant, but then I thought to myself, why would I hesitate to use a palette that I spent so much money on? I should be getting use out of it, and I should be getting my money's worth out of it. And I really love this shade. I really love pretty much every shade in this palette. This is a knockout palette. I just recently talked about this in my 19 mini reviews video, so I'll leave that linked for you guys, but I've really been enjoying this palette, and I am pretty confident I will hit pan on that Laurel shade next update. So those are the 5 shadows that I was working on. Now it is time to roll in 2 new shadows, the most exciting part of the video. We're going to roll in 2 new shadows to work on this month. So I currently have 911 separate shadows in my collection between all of my palettes and all of my singles. So we are going to go into the Pretty Random app, and we are going to select a number between 1 and 911, and well, 2 numbers actually. So first we get number 153, and second we get number 660. Okay, so I'm really excited because number 153 actually comes from the Natasha Denona Gold palette, which my sister gifted to me a couple months ago. She recently went off to, not grad school? She's doing an internship for dietetics, and she was like, listen, like I really am not using makeup much at all, so somebody should be getting use out of this Natasha Denona Gold palette. So number 153 Sandstone, and then number 660 is going to be, so number 660 I'm really excited about too, because it's out of one of the new palettes to my collection, the Nabla Secret palette, which I'm so excited about, you guys. I freaking love that palette so far. It's so beautiful. So we're going to be working on the shade Creation Crown from that palette. So I'm going to go quickly grab those 2 palettes so we can look at what shades they are. Okay guys, so up first out of the Natasha Denona Gold palette, I'm nervous to see what the shade is going to be. So it's Sandstone, which is kind of what I expected. So this should be a really easy shade for me to use. It's this one right here. It's just a very neutral shade. Let's swatch it. This should be another easy one for kind of where to work. So I wipe my hand off so we can re-swatch everything. So again, down below we have Milani, we have ColourPop, we have Natasha Denona Laurel, and now we have Natasha Denona Sandstone, a very neutral based quintet again. We do still have the 5th shade to look at. So that one comes from the Nabla Secret palette, and I'm nervous to see what this one is. Creation Crown, okay. Literally the most basic freaking grouping of shades ever. But sorry, I can show you this first, and excuse the cars outside. This is Creation Crown right here, just this beautiful shimmery gold shade, and boy is that beautiful. I'm a little like, I said this in my last one, I'm a little hesitant because 3 of the 5 shades in here are from like very new palettes to my collection, and there's that part of me that like doesn't want to pan it, but like I said, I should be getting use and love out of things that I spent my money on, or in the case of the gold palette, things that were gifted to me. I shouldn't not be using things just because it would cost money to replace. So all neutrals, these could all work together. So as far as like tones working together, we're good, but not the most exciting color palette for this month. But I am really excited to work on these shades and come back next month and share my next update with you. I like already am excited to share that update. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you are doing this project, leave a link to your video, Instagram, whatever down below. Let me know how it's going. I love to watch these videos. Thank you so much for sticking around to watch mine, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.